Welcome to the show, James.
Oh, thank you very much. Glad to be on it.
Hey, we're excited to have you on the show and excited. We've obviously followed your career very, very closely throughout your time during Missouri. Even over in the Big 12, I shared with my listeners, I was a fan of your style of play, came out, had tremendous couple of freshman and sophomore year. And then, of course, everybody knows your junior year really kind of suffered some injuries and some setbacks. And I think a lot of SEC fans didn't realize how good you were because you'd battled through those injuries. They didn't realize how hurt you were, playing in those games. And going into your senior year, I told everybody, watch out for Missouri because James Franklin and this group, but James Franklin in particular is one heck of a football player. Y'all just haven't seen him because he was out in the Big 12. Tell me how it was going through that junior year. I know you had to hear some of the naysayers and some of the doubters of you and your team. How difficult was that your junior year?
It was definitely difficult, especially like you said, with all the injuries you see. So definitely there's a lot of guys who had chips on our shoulders, and everyone was kind of feeling some anxiety, ready to go out and play the first SEC game or first game as an SEC team. And so we went out and everything, and we saw what we could handle with Georgia. We went out good, and then had a couple bad plays here and there, had a couple injuries, but it was exciting going into it. And then when all of that happened with our own fans rooting against us, and I was getting the majority of it, but I was glad it was rather me than a lot of my other teammates. And so it was really a learning year, and it was frustrating with the losses and how we ended up going 5-7, didn't make a bowl game for the first time in a while. And we knew the talent that we had. We just had so many key injuries that we let that overcome the attitude of the team. We had guys that were in the other positions that were behind some of the guys that got hurt, and they could have filled in and did good, but we just let the whole mindset kind of affect us, and that's what ended up hurting us in those games because we felt like we couldn't do it because we didn't have the starters.
Yeah, and I remember, and again, a lot of SEC fans that have never really followed Missouri didn't understand how many players y'all lost even before the season started. And having guys out, that offensive line was absolutely decimated by injuries. You didn't have Henry Josie back. I mean, just so many players were gone. And again, a lot of SEC fans just didn't know. And I kept telling them, don't get wild. They don't always listen to me, James, but I told them, don't always get wild by the first year. Just wait. This Missouri team is going to be really, really good. And I kept hyping you guys, and here you came in and you made me look like a genius and had a fantastic year. Kind of tell me about that senior year. Was that just a bit of redemption for you and for this football team?
Yes, for sure. And it was the coolest thing about it for a lot of us is, again, we knew the talent that we had, and we were doing really well, 6-0, and then I got hurt and came out. I had a lot of injuries my junior year, but what we learned from my junior year is that, injuries are going to happen, and if we let that affect the attitude of the team, we're not going to do well. And so even though I got hurt, I was frustrated, and obviously teammates and stuff were frustrated. But when Matty came in, he did a really good job, and the team, they kept a really good attitude. They weren't like, oh, no, here we go again, or we can't do it. It was like, no, we're not letting the same thing happen again. So the team kept a great attitude. They helped Matty. Obviously, Matty did good, and we were able to continue to have a good season, and we didn't let that affect us because we learned from the previous year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I've got to tell you, and I've said this as well on this show many times, is that, first of all, had you played in that South Carolina game, and this isn't a knock on Matty Mock. Listen, he was a true freshman going against a really good defense with, guys like Jadeveon Clowney and such. But there's a rhythm when you got your guy in there, the guy that's been there the last 3 years. I think you'd have gone into that Auburn game, or that SEC championship game undefeated. But I'll take it a step further than that. And listen, I don't want to call you on the, to make you say it, but I'm going to give you my opinion, and you may agree or disagree. But I'm going to tell you, you would have won in that SEC championship game. It was going back and forth. And when Henry Josie got thrown into a golf cart about 15 yards out of bounds, I really believe that was the change of the game. I mean, it really was, because your offense was eating them alive. They had nothing for Henry Josie, which gave you the ability to hit those big wide receivers down the field as well. Let me just, that was definitely, in my opinion, that was a difference in the game. And I'll say this, I'll take it a step further. Had you won that game, I think that your team matched up better against Florida State than Auburn did. And that's saying a lot because Auburn was 45 seconds away from being national champions, I believe it was. And I'm not taking anything away from them. They had a great season. But your team would have been with the receivers that you have and the things that y'all could do on offense, and as well as you had the best defensive line in the SEC, I've got to believe that maybe that one play was the difference in Missouri being the defending national champions this year.
Oh man, yes sir. That was something that we saw the game and everything, and we were just thinking, oh, if only we needed a play or two more. You know, the SEC championship game was going back and forth, and we just knew we had to get one stop, and if we would have scored one more time, then it could have been different. And we were excited to be in that position to win the SEC East and go to the championship game. We were definitely trying to get to the national championship, but it all worked out fine.
Absolutely, and had a big bowl win and ended your career in just a real positive manner there at Missouri, and far better than I guess anybody could have imagined, except for me, because I called this, James. I told them it was going to happen. They didn't listen to me. But y'all went into that year. Now, let's fast forward to 2014. You're gone. A lot of key players are gone off of this team, whether it be graduation. Of course, we know the story of DGB now at Oklahoma. And all of the things that have happened there. Now, with that said, they go into the year once again pretty much underrated because, I mean, you think defending champions, they'd at least got the nod at like second or third in the league. You know, they pushed them way back again, and here they are this week against Georgia, hosting Georgia with really a chance. You really got to look at the schedule. You got to believe that if Missouri wins this game, the percentages are more than well in their favor. I mean, they're almost, you know, nothing's decided in the SEC. We know that. But what they have left and who they are, you've got to believe the winner of this game is not just the front runner to win the SEC. They're really up by a couple miles as far as the SEC East goes.
Yes, sir, for sure. And that's something that I know that Mizzou coming into it, they're really excited about because we lost a lot of players from last year and a lot of key players in key positions. And we don't have the talent that we have with guys, getting kicked off the team and guys graduating. But, so one thing that Mizzou has continued to do and, is find a way to win. And no matter how it is, I mean, when they played some game against South Carolina, somehow they always find a way to win. They might not have the perfect game. They might make a lot of mistakes, but they do a good job competing to the end and getting a way to win. So I'm pretty excited to watch the game. I know Georgia's a good team, and especially with Todd Gurley being a really good running back. And I know that Matty's going to go out there on offense, and he's going to do everything he can to put the offense in the best position to score. And so it's going to be an exciting game.
Now, you didn't get to see Todd Gurley play last year, of course, because he was hurt prior to that game. Keith Marshall as well. I really felt like they kind of reminded me of your team the season before with just the unbelievable amount of injuries that they had. But now, I mean, we've got a chance to see Todd Gurley even more. And I've got to ask you, for me, a guy that's covered the SEC, I've not seen a more impressive all-around back since the 90s. I mean, he's that good. How impressed have you been by Todd Gurley?
Oh, wow. I've seen him play out there. It's crazy because it's like there's nothing there. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a play, and then he makes something happen. He's got the size. He's got a lot of talent. He can block, he can catch, he can run. He is really impressive to see. It's just a different level when he's out there. And I know one thing that he has on his side, too, is it's not just he has a lot of talent, but he also has a lot of hype with him, too. And sometimes that can get in players' heads. So, and when a defense goes out there and, it's not just football players, it's Todd Gurley, when they start to think like that, then it gives Gurley the up on him because he's in their head already before he's even gone up against them. So he's just a really cool player to watch. I hope he doesn't do too good against Mizzou this week, but he's a really impressive back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk to you a little bit about Georgia, not so much in the X's and O's and the schemes and all that, but I want to talk about just the quarterback position for a moment because they've got at quarterback Hudson Mason, and I had a chance to watch Hudson Mason. Obviously, we see him this year, and he's not struggling in the fact that, he's completing about almost 70% of his passes. He did throw an interception to the fourth game of the season, but you can tell he's a guy that has lost every bit of his confidence. I mean, he's a guy that has a better arm than he's showing right now. And I went back and watched the film of the 2 games he started last year. He looks so much better. His arms look so much stronger. And I just want to ask you, as a quarterback, do you think that confidence a lot of times can take that much off of even a guy's arm, that maybe he's hesitating to throw it a little bit because he looks like a different player right now?
Yes, sir, no question. I'm going through a lot of that myself with the confidence issues, with not just the injuries, but my own fans and even some of my teammates and everything telling me, or talking behind my back, saying I shouldn't be playing and this and that. My confidence was hurting, so it affected my play. So when I went out there, I wasn't as confident, thinking, okay, putting so much pressure on myself. If I don't make this throw, if I don't do this, then this is going to happen, and this is what they're going to think of me, and so on and so forth. And so I definitely think with Tyson, it's something that he is thinking about, and something that can definitely affect him. And hopefully he'll bounce back from that, because it's hard to play when you don't have a lot of confidence. It's hard to make those tough throws, to feel like if you mess up, everyone is going to be upset at you, or everyone's going to be saying that you're terrible and things like that. And you definitely don't want to let your teammates down. And when you haven't been doing the best, you felt like you haven't been doing the best, and you go out there, I know, at least for me personally, I was thinking, okay, my teammates have worked just as hard as I have the off season this year, and I don't want to throw it away. And so I want to do everything I can to not mess up. And then, of course, if you think don't mess up, you're thinking about it so much, you're focusing on it, so you're going to mess up. That's one of the things that I've learned, and it's kind of in sports, unfortunately. You go out there and you, especially in football, you tell the quarterback, hey, don't throw a pick on this play, or don't throw a pick. And what do you think the whole time you're out there? Okay, don't throw a pick, don't throw a pick, don't throw a pick. Instead of thinking, throw a touchdown or get a completion or make a play kind of thing. And so I think confidence is a huge thing for a quarterback in this particular situation. I think maybe it has affected him a little bit. And again, I want him to do well, just not that well this weekend against Mizzou.
Do well after this game. Hope he has a great year. Hey, now I've got to say 2 things on top of that. First of all, that was an awesome analysis and really just spot on. But let me just tell you one of the funniest things, and I talked about this with other players that come on the show, and it just amazes me how fans sit behind keyboards on message boards and think they know everything, and think they know what the option is. We talk about Georgia, and I promise you, man, I watched when Matthew Stafford was the quarterback. Tons of fans were saying, we want Joe Cox, we want Joe Cox, and they got Joe Cox. They didn't want Joe Cox no more. Then I watched with Aaron Murray. We want Aaron Murray. We want Aaron Murray. We want Aaron Murray. They had Aaron Murray. We want Hudson Mason. We want Hudson Mason. And they got Hudson, now they want Bryce, and it's just it's the nature of the beast. And I want to get your opinion on this. I think a lot of times fans do more damage than good, because when they do that, I don't care how much you try not to, that stuff has to play in your head when your own fan base starts to turn on you a little bit. Yes,
sir, completely. I mean, you try your best not to see it, but it's hard with all the different social media sites and everything. Mm-hmm. It's hard not to see it in the paper, on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or whatever. It's almost impossible not to see it, and so it's hard when you do have your own fans, because you're thinking, I don't even feel welcome in my own place, and they don't want me to play, or they don't want me to be the starter. But they don't understand it. Like, it looks like you made a terrible throw, a terrible interception. Well, they didn't see the receiver run the wrong route or get held up. Exactly. Because a lot of it's anticipation and timing, and so it can be very frustrating. And definitely does more bad than good when their own fans are going against it. And I would think, if I'm a fan, I'd see it as like, I'm supposed to be loyal to them. So no matter what happens, I'm going to support them. I'm going to try and build them up. Because just like anyone's life, if I have a friend and I'm supporting him and I see him out there, I'm not going to tear him down saying how terrible he is, or how he should build him up.
Yeah, my favorite rumor about you was when it was going out there, James, was when people were saying James Franklin's soft. When you had that injury, they didn't know what kind of player you were, and I was so glad. I don't remember what it was, but it was your senior year. It's a game into the season. You absolutely truck somebody, and I'm like, That's Frank the Tank right there, man. They didn't know what they were talking about. That guy runs folks over. But that's what it is. Like they really think they know, and so many times they don't. And like you said, and I'll go back to Hudson. I really applaud Chris Conley because one of his interceptions the other day, Chris Conley said, "Hey, that's my fault because I didn't get off the line like I was supposed to, and it wasn't there, and everybody just thought that he just threw this horrible football." And Chris Conley said, "No, that was all on me." And that's it, man. They don't know. They don't know the play where the guy didn't break off. They don't know the things that go into that. And so it's just, it is what it is. Well, James, we know we got to let you go. We appreciate you spending so much time with us, but we're pretty excited because we hear that this Friday I'm going to get to work with you for a little bit, and you're going to have a show on the SEC Fans Radio Network. It's already picked up on some other stations as well. I know Yahoo Memphis is going to carry that first episode and some other ones. So are you pretty excited about throwing your hand in the radio business?
Yes, sir, I am. It was a really cool opportunity. I really like being able to talk, and I thought I was trying to think and come up with a name for the show, and I was like, all right, it can't be too cheesy, can't be too catchy, and I was thinking, I want to be able to hear from, from a player's perspective, and so I was like, okay, how about James Franklin's quarterback vision? Hey, that makes sense, right? QB vision, play quarterback. Hearing what he sees, hearing what he sees. So I'm really excited about it. I've never done anything like it before, but I think it should be pretty fun.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if you do it any way that you just broke down the Hudson Mason situation, you're going to be nationally syndicated in just in a few weeks, man. Awesome job, James. We appreciate so much. Can't wait to have you back on again. We're going to make this a once a week segment to have you on and come on here as well. Can't wait to have you back on. Thanks so much. Looking forward to the new show, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.